Whether you've been through elementary school, middle school, junior high school, and or college, you always get to that midpoint of the year, that midpoint of the semester where the teachers evaluate how you did, the professors evaluate how you perform, and there are grades involved. And typically, by the midpoint of the semester, you pretty much know what your grade is going to be. Whether you have the excuse of my teacher hated me, of a dog ate my homework, or stuff did not go the way I wanted it to go, or stuff did go the way you wanted it to go. By the midpoint of the semester, usually, you pretty much have a gauge on what my grade is going to be in this respective class, and how am I going to break it to the members of my family, what my grade is. So, this point in the season right now, it's the midpoint for Alabama football. It's gone through 6 weeks, 6 games, in a 10-game, grueling, gut-check, conference-only schedule. It's in the bye week this week prior to facing LSU. So I'm going to dive into basically the 3 impressive things that I have seen so far as we're at the midway point of the season. And of course, U.S. fans, we're going to get your 3 impressive things as well, and the things that you also want to see improved in the first call segment. But for me, starting this off here, the 3 impressive things at the midway point that I have seen from Alabama football. First and foremost, the marriage of Steve Sarkisian and Mac Jones. That's been highly impressive. The marriage of Coach Sark as the offensive coordinator with Mac Jones. And both of these 2 individuals entered the season with a whole lot to prove. They entered the season with a giant chip or a full-blown boulder on their shoulders. They entered this year with a lot of doubters, critics, naysayers that they had to prove wrong. For Mac Jones, the criticism was, we don't believe that he can do what Tua Tagovailoa can do. We don't think that, he's the guy that can continue taking Alabama to the next level. This is not a national championship caliber quarterback. You guys as Alabama fans better be happy that, Bryce Young is in the program, because he's the guy. If there's going to be a championship, it's got to come through It's got to come through Bryce Young. It's not going to come through Mac Jones. You had national media going, Mac Jones? I don't want to see this guy. He's obviously not Tua. Tua had this offense in a whole different stratosphere. I just don't think that Mac Jones can put this offense or keep this offense in the stratosphere that, Tua had it in. And he had a lot of the naysay, a lot of the critics, a lot of the doubters coming to the season. And what has Jones done? He has been impeccable. He's been incredible. He's completely shattered and eviscerated all of the critics, all of the doubters, all of the naysay, to where he's now the number 1 leader, the number 1 candidate, the number 1 front runner in the 2020 or this year's Heisman race. And then on top of that, when you look at Sarkisian for a second here, the doubt with Sark was, is he did it with Tua, but could Sarkisian really do it with Mac Jones? No, Sark did it with Tua. Sarkisian did it with Tua, but could he really do it with Mac Jones? And, Sark was here in 2016. It wasn't quite his time to take over as, doing the offensive play calling, because he had been through so many things in his past, some personal ups and downs, and he enjoyed his time as an analyst in 2016. But when he went to the Atlanta Falcons for 2 years as an offensive coordinator, then he came back, a lot of people were like, well, why'd you bring Sark back? The jury's out on Sark. I don't know if Sarkisian was the right move. I don't know if he is truly, for real, the best offensive mind in college football. I mean, he's good. He decent, but why did you bring Sark back, Nick? I mean, why did you bring that guy back? Why did you extend the olive branch to that guy? So Sark had some things he had to prove to critics wrong. He had some things that he had to show doubters that he could still coach and perform at a very high level. And how he has went about this season calling this offense, balancing this offense, having the run and the pass game flow in symmetry with each other, the way the offensive line has been playing, like Sark has done a dynamite job, and he has proven that he was well deserving of the extension that he got. And we have reached a point where a lot of you as Alabama fans feel like if Alabama can keep Sarkisian around, this may become the guy on that short list of head coaches that could be the guy to fill in or to take over for head coach Nick Saban upon him calling it a career at the University of Alabama. So the marriage of Sark and Mac Jones has been very, very pleasant. And when you talk about, Alabama this season leading the SEC in both scoring offense, 47.2 points per game, and total offense, averaging 555.2 yards per game, and then Alabama is, first in the country, in points per game with the 47.2, third in the country in total offense, putting up 555. 0.2 yards offensively. And then you look at just the balance going back to Mac Jones averaging 366 yards per game passing, Najee Harris averaging 119 yards per game rushing. And when you look at just the first 6 games with Sark and Tua last year versus the first 6 games between Sark and Mac this year, the numbers pretty identical in some areas right now. So 2019 with Sark and Tua, we're looking at Tua completed 73.6% for 2,011 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 216.78 passer rating, and a 95.65 QBR. So that's through 6 games with Tua and Sark, and those were with cupcakes involved when you talk New Mexico State and Southern Miss. If you also want to think of Duke as a cupcake, throw Duke in there also. But when you look at Mac and Sark through 6 games, and we're looking at 6 games with no spring because of COVID situations, not an average typical fall camp, a 10-game conference-only schedule, so no cupcakes, no easy games, every game's a gut check. And then this is Sark coming back from open heart surgery. Remember, Sark is coming back from open heart surgery to coach, this season here for Alabama. So when you look at the numbers here from the Mac and Sark marriage through 6 games, Mac Jones completing 78.5%, which is higher than Tua. Mac 2,196 passing yards, higher than Tagovailoa. Mac 16 touchdowns, 2 picks. Mac a passer rating of 210.32, and Mac a QBR of 95.5. So we're seeing with the marriage of Mac and Sark, these two, in here proving critics wrong, have got this offense flying at a very high level, even farther to where, Tua and Sark had it. And, both of these two guys, Mac Jones and Steve Sarkisian, got the Crimson Tide here on the road toward a conference championship and a national title. But that's just number one. The number 2 thing that's been very impressive so far is the confidence and performance of one Will Riker. Now, I could have put Najee Harris here, and if you were to have told me back in 2018 that Harris would be closing in on possibly being the number 1 rusher in Alabama football history, surpassing one Derrick Henry, I would have thought you were crazy. But Najee Harris is right there. He needs 500 yards to surpass or to tie Derrick Henry. And just the incredible year that Devontae Smith has had at wide receiver. But there was either it was last year or 2018. I believe it was last year. No, it was 2018. 2018. For 2018 season, Alabama had missed 9 extra points. The kicking game had gotten that bad. Bama had missed 9 extra points. And for a lot of you out there, it was, when could we, as in Alabama football, finally have a kicker to where you're not cussing people out, you're not using crazy chants, you're not drinking yourself into oblivion, you're not using swear words, you're not trying to find ways to ease the pain, because the kicking game is definitely not where it needs to be at. And all of those times where you watch the opposing team have kickers where they're making 40 and 50 and 30 and 20-yard kicks with no problem, making extra points with no problem, and you're like that Knife Jennings song, must be nice. You're like that Knife Jennings song watching all of this go down. But now, different situation because of the confidence that, Reichert's playing with, making every extra point, making every field goal. He's 8 of 8 on kicks this year from different angles, different spots of the field, whether it's the hash mark, whether it's between the numbers, whether it's in the middle of the field. He's making every kick that, Bama has him doing. And I remember a conversation I had with Coach Saban in an interview, and he just talked about how comforting this is when you're able to trust a guy to go out there and make a field goal no matter where it is on the field. And Reichert is doing that. So definitely the confidence and the poise and the mental psyche of Reichert definitely impressing me, because the main thing with him has always kind of been, would he be mentally locked in for this year? He had some injuries. We had the hip injury last season. Alabama rushed him back for the Tennessee game, which he wasn't quite ready, and then he had to be put on the shelf there for the remainder of the season. He had a video in the summer of him making a 60-plus yard kick. Of course, you as Alabama fans were like, that's cute and all, but can we get that in a game? We're tired of hearing how good these kickers are at practice, but once we get them in a game, it's like the movie Space Jams. The Monstars suck their kicking power out, and they can't do anything. Can we see this happen in an actual football game? And that was the main thing for a lot of you, is what could Will Reichert be locked in terms of the mental capacity, and seeing him do that and kick well and gain all the more confidence with each kick is really awesome. So that leads us to the third impressive thing through 6 games, the midway point of the tie, the play of these freshmen on defense. And while, you guys as fans had high expectations for Dylan Moses, you had high expectations for Christian Harris, high expectations for Christian Barmore, high expectations for a lot of these older guys on the team, it's been the young players, it's been the freshmen to really kind of keep this defense in line and trying to push this group back into being, a top 10, top 15 at least, top 10 defense here, in the country. Just the job that Malachi Moore has done on the season. He's got 28 tackles, 5th on the team. The job that Will Anderson's done, 22 tackles, 7th on the team. The job that Brian Branch has done so far, and Tim Smith and Jamil Burrows, these freshmen have come in not only with that dog mentality, but they have applied it to the play on the field, flying around the football, making tackles for loss, creating pressure to the quarterback, getting sacks, creating turnovers, turning turnovers into points. Like, these freshmen have done an unbelievable job. And I mentioned this on Monday. As excited as we are for the 2021 kids coming in, these 2020 guys have made a huge impact. It's going to be awesome to see as they continue to grow, because we have yet to see Drew Sanders on defense, Quandarius Robinson on defense, Chris Braswell on defense. So this is just the handful of guys that have come out dominating so far. So once we get the other guys locked in, then it's going to be really scary. But those were just kind of my 3 impressive things from the Tide so far through 6 games. Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.